Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Seahawk Talk and Ethos Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
We're on both channels today.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us. We're with Candace for the first time since I think before the draft was the last time we talked, right?
Yeah. Been a minute.
So, how you been? What's been going on with you and everything like that?
I mean, I'm great. I'm good. Get a lot of happy to have some info to talk about. Actually, the draft happening, and I guess getting schedule info, rookie mini camp. At this point, I'll take anything because I miss football. So
Yeah, me too. I was talking to a guy last night, and we were like, okay, what's the most anticipated game? He is a 49ers fan. I'm a Seahawks fan. We both circled the Thanksgiving game against the 49ers. But I think more I'm excited just for September 10th, the first game. That's just what I'm mostly excited for. So I put that just as much. We got Peo in the house. What's up, Peo? How you doing? Yeah, what do you want to get on first? I guess we were both very wrong with our mock drafts. I'm assuming I haven't gone back and watched. I know for a fact I was wrong. So
yeah, it didn't go anything like I thought it was gonna go, but but I still love the draft. So I follow the logic about what they did. I think I'm higher on the draft than most people. I think I'm one of the few people who don't really have any criticisms, though I understand some of the criticisms with the draft. So it's always a really interesting topic to talk about. But I guess we'll start there, and then we'll just go chronological order, and then get into the schedule.
Yeah, I was happy with the draft, especially our first two picks. I mean, I was like kind of bummed we didn't go interior defensive line.
Yeah.
But they've shown us time and time again that they know what they're doing. So you honestly just got to trust them at this point, right?
Right.
And then getting Smith and Jigba all the way at number 20, I thought that was kind of a steal. I mean, he was the first receiver off the board. So I don't know what you think about him. I'm a little nervous just because he was hurt all last year. But, I mean, if he can stay healthy, you got Lockett, DK, and Smith and Jigba all in the same. We've always, the Seahawks fans were always thinking, okay, who's our number 3 receiver this year?
Right.
And it's always been like, last year, it's like, is it going to be Goodwin or is it going to be Eskridge? And then 2 years ago, it's like, is it Swain? Is it Eskridge? But now I think we have 3 number 1 receivers in my opinion.
Yeah, but I'm really excited about I was excited about both picks. So the Devin Witherspoon pick threw me too, because after the way the board fell, I was like, okay, so I know we're taking Jalen. Like, we got to be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Took some wind out of my sails, and I was like, huh? But then I, regrouped, thought about it, and really it does make a lot of sense. I was not prepared. I really didn't anticipate them taking a cornerback that early, but it turns out they just wanted the right cornerback. Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
But the JSN pick, now that's actually one I potentially got right. Like, I did do a few mock drafts, and I think I talked about it on one of my breakdowns of going over some of the picks I would like at number 20. I didn't know if he'd fall that far, but I thought he'd be great value at 20 if he did. So I was super, super excited. Health-wise, I'm not too nervous about it just because he was able to do that, pro day and the workout. So I think they're just kind of slow playing him a little bit, and I prefer that because I'd rather him be available for the start of the season so they can not do anything with him. So we'll not do anything. I mean, he'll need to be available for training camp, but if they just slow play him till training camp and he's good to go at that point and get down the playbook, I'm great. It's super exciting because he is everything that the team needs. Like, they need somebody who can like challenge defenses horizontally a little bit, who can get run after catch, which this team has been like barren of. Like, there's been no run after catch ability on this team. Love DK, love T Lockett, but they are not that in any way. And I think this will be a great chain mover for Geno. Like, for those who are concerned, legitimately so, about Geno regressing, getting JSN as a safety blanket, it's got to give you a little bit more comfortability about his ability to still stay relative in performance to what he did last year.
Yeah, no, I get that. And like you said, both guys. So, and another thing about JSN is, when Lockett was hurt or DK was hurt, it seemed like they just, threw everything at DK or everything at Lockett when
Yeah.
they were hurt. Now one of them can actually afford to go down, and we have that other guy that they're like, oh shoot, we got to cover this guy too. If that
Now, I
makes
will
sense.
say I have questions about his ability to play on the outside. I really do. I'm curious to see what that will look like.
Yeah,
But
I don't. Lockett doesn't have a problem playing on the outside.
yeah, well,
You
his
know,
arms are longer.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I think his arms are longer, and isn't he? Like he's bigger than JSN, not by much, but by a
No,
little.
not. But he's a smaller guy. I think I don't know. Steve Smith was a small guy. The only,
He's
I
much
just
bigger.
they see something in this guy, and I'm excited for it. I really am.
They see him as a slot. I think my guess,
Hmm.
if he grows into an outside guy, it's probably a year or two down the line. If DK or Lockett went down, I think you'd still feel it more than you would if
If he
he
was,
was just a little bit. I'm gonna say longer. I'm not even gonna say bigger, longer and faster. I think people question his ability to play on the outside because can he get separation with his top speed not really being that high? It's a question mark. But I think he can get there because he seems like a hard worker and everything. He seems like he's really dedicated, and I'm pretty sure long term he can be somewhat helped. But I'm not gonna worry about injuries or anything like that. Like I'm just we
yeah,
have the
exactly.
best wide receiver trio in the NFL, if you ask me. It's hard
Yeah,
to
for
find
sure. It's up
more.
there. I mean, the Bengals are one that's
The
like
Bengals are one, yeah, but
that's
Bengals
scary. Which we play them this year, so a little nervous for that. But any given Sunday, right? Let's get to Peo's questions really quick.
yeah.
He said, "Would you date someone based on their like? Could you date?" I couldn't. I don't think I could. If they were like really into it, there's no chance that I
I probably could not
could.
date a 49ers fan. I think that would be, well, I don't know, but I like a spirited debate. So it depends on the type of 49ers fans, because they're different types. There's some that are like cool and there are some that are like really obnoxious. But I don't mind a little debate. In fact, I kind of thrive in that. So I probably would be all right. I think if the person's good enough a person, I'll be all right.
I don't think I could. There is no way that I could just because like my wife, not a football fan at all. She just kind of goes around with me, listens, just
Just
whatever. That's kind of what I prefer. Just not really know what's going on, but accept that I'm a Seahawks fan. So he's got another question.
yeah.
Last year Seahawks fans were calling for Carroll's job. Do you believe he Yeah, I think so, especially with this roster and how they're building it. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, I agree. I've always thought that was a little. I always thought that was a little dramatic. The calling for Pete's job there. I personally, I had a lot more problems with Pete Carroll in charge of personnel than I
mhm.
had with Pete Carroll the coach. Pete Carroll in charge of personnel, I'd fire him today. My personal theory is that John Snyder. I think the year they traded Russell Wilson was the year they gave John Snyder more control over the personnel. Pete Carroll's not listed as the VP anymore of personnel on the website. So I think that dynamic is shifted, and you're seeing positive results because of it. But the coach is great, and he can definitely take them to another Super Bowl. He seems to be, I guess, in my mind, showing a willingness to change, even if it's slow, very
Yeah,
slow.
exactly. And it has been slow. It
Yeah,
has
it's
been
slow. Long
it's
time
it's
coming.
about 3 years too late in my opinion. 3,
Yeah, I can
maybe
see why you
4.
said that. Yeah, I can see why you said it.
But yeah, it's like I don't know. He's just if it's hard to when Seahawks fans were calling for, and obviously like I live in Seattle, so you just hear people, God, can you believe they kept Pete instead of Russ? Well, yeah, yeah, I
Mhm.
believe that they could keep Pete instead of Russ
Yeah.
because Pete's never been a prima donna. I think that's what Russ kind of started to turn to be,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
If any, I mean, the only person that really called for Pete Carroll's head was Russell Wilson, at least in the organization. He was the only one in my belief. So
I hear there was rumors that John was kind of over at one point, but that might had more to do with, I think, personnel. Again, I go back to that because he's a terrible drafter. Um, Anyway, but yeah, I definitely think he's got. I mean, nothing has changed on his part in terms of the motivator that he is, and you see him. You see that he works better with the younger roster. Like I think him having this young roster is better
Yeah,
for him.
yeah, it's awesome too. It was so awesome last year because it almost like went back to not 2012, but maybe like 2011, something
11,
like
yep,
that, where our roster wasn't that talented, but you know, we were winning ball games, especially towards the end of the year
yep,
that season.
exactly.
And it was like it's like it re-energized him. It really did. Which
Hmm.
I mean, he's always had energy, right? But it's like it felt different. You know, it
Yeah,
felt like
I
more of
think,
a team.
and I think it meant a lot to him because he is what he wants to be. He's back to being the coach and just focusing on coaching. Like you said, not having to worry about some of the sideshow stuff that did realistically just come into play with Russ. I mean, it became a lot of sideshow stuff, and like there was always contract disputes. Kind of, I mean, over the past few years, there's always been some issue
Mark
in the off
Rogers, dude.
season.
Mark Rogers.
Yeah, Mark Rogers, man. Glad we don't have to deal with that anymore. But but this is a peaceful off season, and I think you're seeing the best version of Pete as a result.
Yeah, I had a question for you.
Yeah,
Uh, so were you done with Russ before he left here? Because I was, and I could name the exact moment when, and
I
it
wasn't done.
you
I
weren't.
wasn't done. I wasn't done with Russ. I I did feel like something needed to change though.
Mhm.
So I thought there was a possibility he might be traded. Just that I did think that something needed to be changed, but I wasn't sure what that would be, and I wasn't sure. Now I thought they might trade him, but I didn't know where. You know, all these questions, but um, I didn't expect it to go Denver. I'll say that since that was my husband's team, but I I didn't mind it being Russ. I wanted to see it personally. Actually, I thought it was better for another year. Like I wanted to see one more year of him actually healthy
Mhm.
and the team, the core that they had, the new system with Shane Waldron. I just feel like a year, no offensive coordinator really, with the exception of Sean McVay, really
Mhm.
takes off that first year. Like it takes a second to get the personnel, to get all that right. I was curious to see what another year would look like before they blew it all up. Um, but I was close. I just wasn't quite there.
Mine was the year before when Mark Rodgers gave out the 4 teams he'd be willing to trade to. That just as a fan was such a slap in the face because you're like, "Are you kidding me?" You know, I've never seen that before. I've never seen it. Well, I don't want to be traded, but if there was a chance that I'd be traded, these are the teams that I'd be willing to go to. And then I kind of let it go. You know, once the season started, I kind of let it go. And then when he broke his finger and he was doing the warm ups before the Steelers game, I'm sure you remember that.
Oh yeah,
Just against Eric. And you're like, dude, what are you doing?
yeah. I hated watching them. I think what did really frustrate me was watching that Green Bay game when he did come back
And he came
after
back a
the
week
game
too
ended.
early,
Way
maybe
too
even two.
early. Like and it hurt the team. Like you saw it actively hurt the team, and the team was in that game. That was a win. I mean, the defense played a heck of a, I guess, 3 quarters and a half before the game just blew open at some point. And at some point, you just think that he would say, "Okay, I don't have it." Gino try to take us home or something. But instead, we just watched a winnable game become unwinnable.
Well, I remember watching that game too, and I remember afterwards being so pissed because, you know, Gino 2 years ago is not what we think of him now, right? We thought of him strictly as a backup quarterback. So
Yeah.
I remember going, Geno Smith could have scored 0 points because that's what we scored. Geno Smith could have scored 0 points just fine, just like Russell Wilson did. You know, I was a little upset about that.
Yeah.
And then the game, I think we played Washington the week after that, and then he was not himself
No.
anymore.
No.
But sorry to get so off topic. I
Yeah. No.
apologize.
Great questions.
I apologize about that. Okay, final question. Who in the Seahawks would you be most afraid to if you had to get tackled by someone on the current roster?
If like I personally had to get tackled,
Yeah, you have to.
who
But who
would
do
I
you,
be
no,
most
who was the last person you would choose to get tackled by?
The last person I choose to get tackled by right now, I gotta go Bobby. I saw that incident on the sidelines with that man who hopped onto the field in the Rams game and he laid him out. I'm gonna go Bobby. It would have been Al Woods, but he's gone. So
I think Jamal.
I feel
I
yeah.
think just that safety mentality, right in the chest. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do that. I don't think I could get hit by any of them, but I think
Yeah,
Jamal would be.
that's a good one.
Shout out everybody in the chat, by the way. We got Ryan at No Border Sports. Steve-O, he says, where was it? He said, my favorite Seahawks fan and Joe on there at one point. So I thought that was pretty funny. What's up? Corey's here. Brian's here. Anyways, yeah. So I guess the draft, yeah, the first 2 rounds, I'm really happy with the defensive back. I think we probably have the best secondary in the NFL.
Oh
If
yeah.
everything goes according to plan, we have the best wide receivers, at least top 3 in the NFL. If everything goes according to plan, I'm still a little iffy on the interior defensive line.
So I agree. I agree with you on the interior defensive line, but I'm not panicking about it. I think there are a lot of things they can do that are actually smart and a little bit more forward thinking. So I went back and I took a look at some of the top run defenses, the Tennessee Titans, I believe it was the Baltimore Ravens. And if you look at the rosters of those guys, they don't have a ton of 300-pound dudes. There's like 2, and they're barely over 300 pounds. And so I really think they had a bunch of guys that were 280, 290, that were fast, agile, could rally to the ball. And I think the Seahawks are following that strategy. If so, I gotta respect the effort. I mean, gone are the days where you can have somebody, just a big guy who eats up space. You need people who are faster, who are just more athletic. I think it's smart. It's scary. It's scary, but I think I'm gonna try to trust the process.
Yeah, no, I kind of trust them too. And having 2 really good linebackers back there, hopefully Brooks will be back, having Bobby, and then Devin Bush is obviously a project, but I think he's a step above Tanner Muse, and who was the other one? Who there
It
was
was Cody Barton.
and no, but Radigan, especially those 2,
Oh yeah,
Radigan and Tanner Muse, and I'm no disrespect to those guys at all, but they shouldn't have been there last year.
no. Nico Bauer trying to play linebacker. Oh, the nightmares.
Exactly. I'll take Devin Bush over those, especially those 3, and I'll even add Cody Barton. I'll take them over him, or I'll take him over them, any day of the week. So I think linebacker play will help. I know they got Cameron Young. I think he was one of the guys that was standing out. I don't know how much you can stand out during OTAs as a nose tackle because you're not doing a whole lot, maybe just your footwork. But
You
and
can't
then
really.
Pete Carroll's also praising Jarek Reed, the safety. I don't even know what school he went to. He was a 6th-round pick.
New Mexico, I believe. I want to say it's New Mexico. I think that's right. But yeah. So how did you feel about the way they approached the defensive line? Like, did you feel like they should have gotten, I know a lot of people were like they should have gotten Keanu Benton.
Keanu Benton.
Not Keanu. I know I was mispronouncing the first name. But yeah, I know a lot of people said they should have gotten him. Mozzie Smith was long gone, faster than any of us thought he would be gone. But what were your thoughts?
I know you didn't like him, because we talked about him before, but I thought if Kalijah Cansey was still there at 20, I was going to take that guy. And he was taking one pick ahead.
I was so grateful.
Yeah, I literally thought of you. So I'm like, okay,
I took a sigh
on the board. I don't know who the Buccaneers are taking, but we're probably going to get Cansey, and Candace is going to be pissed. And then, he got taken, and then I'll settle with JSN, right? I'll settle with him, I guess. But I think they just picked the best guy available who they saw, right? So no complaints with that. They're not trying to take a guy who's a defensive tackle and make him into a right guard, anything like that. There's no huge projects.
Exactly, and I completely agree with that. What were your thoughts, though? Because a lot of people had controversy about the 3rd pick, which was Zach Charbonnet, right? That was
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I like it a lot. How
So no
about you?
spirit of debate. I thought I was ready for a debate. No debate.
No,
Why did you like it?
I just think having a 1-2 punch in the backfield is awesome. That's what I tell people. I mean, look at I think it was the Rams game last year in LA. Dallas went down, Walker went down, and then we
Yes.
have Tony
Tony
Jones back
Jones
there.
Jr. Oh,
And it's like if we can get away from that and we can have 2 solid running backs on one team, that's what every team dreams of. I mean, you remember like the early 2010s Panthers when they had D'Angelo Williams, I believe, and Jonathan Stewart. You
yep,
know, those teams are very effective. I think
yep.
it's awesome.
And like the Cleveland Browns, even now, like when they had the Nick Chubb, Kareem
And
Hunt
Hunt.
1-2 combo, like
Yeah.
that
I mean,
worked
look how
great.
effective that is.
Yeah, it's huge, and I think so. I understand why the running back position is undervalued, but I think that when you're talking about a difference, people assume that you can get difference making running backs in the later rounds, and by later, if you mean second or third, you're correct. But once you
Mm,
get past that point, you're losing some quality. So in terms of a difference making kind of guy, I don't know how many fifth rounders are now leading the league in rushing. Like those
yeah.
are all guys who they got, who the teams got in the second or third round, sometimes even the first. But I get why they say you shouldn't draft him in the first. I think the second is a great place though, and that's what they did. And they got him
Mhm.
even lower than they got Kenneth Walker, a little bit lower than they drafted
Yeah,
Kenneth.
and I'm not a hater of taking running backs
Yeah.
early in the draft. I'm not even if you like a guy, like the Falcons really like the guy from Texas, Bijan Robinson. If you
Mhm.
like him, take him. Because if he can be the next, I guarantee Adrian Peterson was what, 6 overall in 2007. I
Yeah.
guarantee nobody was like pissed, right? That
Not bad.
5 years later, that they're going, "Oh, why'd we take a running back? We could have had so and so." No, Adrian
Yeah.
Peterson was the man.
And I
So,
and I get like I'm like looking on the board at that time. I would rather have the third best running back, clear consensus, than
mhm.
like the 10th best defensive end.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
and who's going to make the difference on your team, Benton or Zach Charbonnet? And you think it's Benton, but realize a big guy who just stands and takes up space isn't a needle mover for your team
Mhm.
ever, even if they're
Or
great at what they do. Zach
yeah,
Charbonnet can absolutely make a difference for your team and win you some games because I mean, I would think the Seahawks fan base would be more understanding as many times as we've seen running backs every year. We've had like 5 running backs active on the roster the past 2 years for sure. 5
mhm.
active running backs on the roster and still ran out of dudes. It's crazy. I'm a little nervous for 4. To be honest, I'm a little scared but another thing that I like about the pick is last year, you kind of had specialists. So you had DJ Dallas was the guy you could go to if you needed a little bit better of a runner, but decent pass protection. You needed elite pass protection. You needed to go to Travis Porter, but he couldn't really get you anything. Once he gets tackled, it's over pretty much with Travis Homer.
Mhm.
And then you had Ken Walker, who was a home run hitter, and Rashad Penny. But I think really for the past 3 or 4 years, you've had specialist guys. You've not had a bunch of running backs who can do a bunch of different things. And I think the running back room is upgraded because of what they have there now.
Yeah, I'm a little excited for the 6th round pick out of Georgia. I blank on his name. I think it's
That
Mac.
7, Kenny McIntosh. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a little excited to see him too. I mean,
Yeah.
running back's just one of those positions. I mean, you find out real quick not in the preseason because preseason running backs shine, right? But I mean, early in the season, once a guy gets a ball a couple times, you learn really quick what he's made of. So I'm really excited for both of those new guys because we already know what we have in DJ Dallas, and
Yeah. And
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He's a solid guy to have on your 53-man roster.
right, but that's about it. And I kind of hope that Kenny McIntosh can overtake him in the depth chart. DJ Dallas earned it, but I just think McIntosh is more talented. So I
Dallas
just
is
see him go
Dallas
down.
has never really done anything for me. Homer or Dallas have never really done anything for me to where I've been like, oh, that's a guy. I mean, Homer, I think the two bright spots he had is when he took that onside kick all the way back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then that fake punt against the 49ers took
Yep.
that for a touchdown. And I think that's those are really the only two plays I can even think of. Like, obviously, I watch them 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
But those are the only two plays that really stand out. They got to be some weird, funky play.
He's one of the better, or I'm gonna say better, pass blocking running backs in the league, I think. So, you miss him from that perspective, but that's really about it. Because I mean, if he was trotting out there, you knew it's gonna be one or two things. You knew it's gonna be a pass play, or you knew it was gonna be like a draw play. Because how many times did we see him go out there on like 3rd and 20 and like get tackled
Exactly.
at the 3-yard line?
And he'll gain like 6 yards on 3rd and 20, but it's not 6 yards on 1st and 10.
No, right,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So running back room's looking great. What do you think about Jamal Adams not being there for OTAs?
Jamal Adams, I really don't care. I don't care at all. I'd rather the guy be in rehab. I think that's where his value is. And I get the argument behind camaraderie, but like, there's going to be plenty of time for that. Now, get back with me if Jamal Adams isn't present at training camp. Okay, then I probably got a problem because then that's when the team really needs to be gathering, galvanizing. But it's May, and to be honest, I wouldn't want the guy in OTAs anyway if he was healthy because I get scared he'd get hurt again. I'm just saying. It's
Bubble
happening.
wrap.
I'm just saying. Like, keep the guy away from the field until it's absolutely needed. Period. That's my stance.
Everybody's saying with Jamal Adams, they're like, oh, well, he can Zoom all the guys, right? He can Zoom like the meetings and stuff like that, the OTA meetings.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, can't he Zoom his people that are helping him rehab his quad too, and at least just be there with the guys? I don't know. That's my literally only thing. I just want him there with the guys, like, because I don't think he was around much last year after he got hurt. I want everybody to mesh.
There'll be plenty of time. There'll be plenty of time for that. It's super early in the season. So one, to answer your question, as somebody who is going through rehab right now, no, actually, because when you're talking about your customized plan that you're going through, yes, some people have argued you could do that on a training facility. But one, they have 90 other players on the roster, so you'd be taking up unnecessary resources away from other guys who probably don't have the same resources that you do. And then they're not going to be as aware about you because they have to keep up with 90 other guys. So it's not nearly as personalized. It's taking up unnecessary resources. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I saw on Twitter, Quandra made a really great point, and that's that his camaraderie with the guys wasn't affected. He spent the offseason training in Austin, in Texas, for when he had his injury, and he was voted team captain. So there isn't really the camaraderie that happens now can't be strong enough because he still got voted the team captain despite his pretty lengthy absence in the beginning of the offseason.
Yeah.
What counts is later.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think people are more upset with Jamal Adams because of what we haven't seen so far.
Yep.
And I think I'm one of those people too. It's like, we want it. Not even worth the 2 first-round picks that we sent over, just worth one of the 2 first-round picks that we sent over.
I'm going to say that I don't think that, okay, I understand the criticism with Jamal because some of it is warranted. But I also say that the guy broke a sack record his first year when he got traded for the team. The following season, he still made second team All-Pro. I think people still forget that. I mean, it wasn't a great Jamal Adams season, and he still made second team All-Pro. So I understand when you trade 2 first-rounders, the expectations are sky high. And I think that's really just what this is a result of, because before last season, he didn't miss a ton of games. He missed games.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't play as well because he was playing through injury at times. But I think he still played like 12 games or something like that the season before he got hurt for the whole year. But I do understand the frustration with nobody anticipated to not have him like even for a single game. I mean,
yeah,
that was a tough blow. But I do think I agree with you. It's a lot to do with the frustration about his situation more than OTAs, because no one was talking about it with Condre. No one's talking about Jordan Brooks.
No, nobody's talking. I feel like people are just throwing Jordan Brooks' name in there that,
Yes.
oh, he missed it too, because they want a reason to bitch about Jamal Adams, which
Yes.
is, I just want to see the guy perform because we've
Yeah.
seen what he can be.
Right.
I mean, the first game when he came over here in 2020, we played the Falcons, and you just watched number 33 the whole time. We were watching defense. That's the guy you watch. He was all over the field, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of slowly went down and ups and downs, ups and downs. But I want that guy, right, that we traded 2 first-round picks for. So
I think he was still that guy that whole season. I really do. I mean, you don't get 9.5 sacks by not being a game ready. I mean, like he was the Seattle Seahawks pass rush because literally no one else would do anything that year. Like
I
it was
know that
just
that
Jamal
was
Adams.
that
Oh,
was rough.
that
That
was
was
a tough year. Anyway, I mean, but I get it. Like, my hope is that he'll be back, and I think people will see his impact because I thought just the little that he was in the Broncos game, he was creating impact and wreaking. I mean, got
he
hurt on
did
the sack.
he did take a ball to the face. He did take a ball to the face. He had an interception. All he got to do was put his hands up. All he had to do was put his hands up. But that is
He's
my
not an
biggest
interception guy.
that is my biggest problem with Jamal Adams is like I've watched a lot of safeties now, and he has to have the worst ball skills I've ever seen.
Yep.
You know how they say, oh, but the reason a guy plays defensive back is because he can't catch. I think that may truly be the case with
Yeah.
Jamal Adams. I mean, he's too small to play linebacker. It's
I don't think so.
5'11", 200. What do you think he is?
I mean, what do you think Devin Bush is?
I don't know.
I think Devin Bush is smaller than him. Devin Bush is smaller than him. He's right now a starting linebacker on this team. So
Well, put Adams there and have Love play safety. How
I
about
wouldn't mind. But
Yeah.
no, but you know why I wouldn't mind? Coverage. I don't. So he's not as bad as coverage as people make him out to be, but it's still not a strong suit. I think they need to accent him best and have him play, you know, disguise him, right? Sometimes he'll drop back in coverage, sometimes he'll attack off the edge. Stop doing the 5-man blitzes, which are mind-boggling.
Because
God,
everybody knows it's coming.
yes.
Everybody knows it's coming. And that's what it killed me when you mentioned Jamal Adams having 9.5 sacks. I think a lot of those he wasn't touched. I mean, a lot of those he wasn't touched. And I think he could have had Ryan Neal have 9.5 sacks that year, or at least 6. I really do, the way that they're using Jamal that season.
Well, you gotta have a certain level of speed in order to do that. So you're right. At least half of them he wouldn't touch. But I mean, that's what made Bobby great last year. He was the best blitzing linebacker in the league, and most of the time he's not touched. That's what makes it. What really makes your ability to be a good blitzer or not is your ability to disguise and your speed and your ability to finish on tackle. And so you can't just have everybody do that because Ryan Neal maybe be able to get. I'd say he could probably get half of that. Because Ryan Neal's a pretty good blitzer himself, but I mean, he's not supposed to be a defensive end. He's supposed to be. So,
And that was my problem. That was just my problem with Jamal Adams. Is like, yes, you're right. He's not supposed to be a defensive end, and it's like, I don't know. It's just
what I think it's more frustrating that they traded that much for somebody they didn't know how to use,
and then doubled down on it by paying him $18 million a year. I think that almost bugs me as much as it does giving up that much. Because Jamal had, during those negotiations, he had all the leverage in the world. Because he's like, okay, you traded 2 first-round picks for me. What are you going to do, trade me?
Well, he had a great season. That's the season that he broke the record. I mean, you got to pay him. They shouldn't have traded for him if they didn't know how to use him, though. Period. Like, they shouldn't, but they were desperate. The reason why they traded for him is because they needed pass rush, and they know that they didn't have any from the defensive line. When you make a move out of desperation, you end up looking stupid, and that's what happened. They look dumb. They look dumb for it.
I think that if he doesn't turn around, I think it's the worst trade in Seahawks history. I really do. Actually, I lied. Because the Jimmy Graham one kind of tore the team apart, but Percy Harvin one was bad, but at least he got a Super Bowl out of it. I don't know.
For me, what softens the mistake of the Jamal Adams trade is the rush trade, because you definitely got your picks back. You got your picks back when it mattered more.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so that's it. Sort of softens the blow for me. Like that's my pillow because yeah, we got fleeced, but we fleeced somebody else, so it's fine. And that trade might be the worst trade in NFL history. So you know, I'll take that
Yeah.
one. But I can't fault the frustration with it. My only hope is he can, you know, come back to form. I don't really have any questions about if he's on the field, will he be impactful?
Yeah,
Um,
because he always is. You
yeah,
gotta watch him when he's on the field, and for better or for worse, he always stands out. I
correct.
just I we were spoiled for such a long time with the two best, probably the best, one of the best tandem of safeties in the NFL for a long time with Earl and Cam. I don't care what you say, they were freaking awesome to watch because you
Oh,
had Earl playing center field, and then you had Cam doing whatever he needed to do, right?
oh, for sure.
And
But
then
then Cam got injured. I mean
exactly,
the amount of
and
time.
Earl got hurt too. Yeah.
Yep. Well, Earl being hurt isn't what took him out. Um,
No,
that's
I know, but I mean, you felt it. So the last 3 seasons. So obviously, when he flipped off the sidelines,
yeah,
that was his final injury as a Seahawk. But the 2 years before that, he had some pretty bad injuries to where he missed like the last quarter of the season, and you felt
yeah,
it when he was gone.
yeah, for sure. Because they didn't have any. It took them a long time to find some reasonable safety. So that's why, and maybe that's another reason why it's hard for me to really complain about Jamal. Because I watched Tedrick Thompson.
T2, yeah, sucked.
He was him and the other guy,
Lano
Delano
Hill,
Hill. Oh,
Delano Hill.
makes my stomach hurt.
Yeah, me too. It sucked. And then so we had those two guys back there. I think it was both of them at the same time when we traded for Quandre Diggs. And
Yes.
Quandre Diggs was like a breath of fresh air because you're like, dude, I can't do this anymore with Tedrick
Yeah.
Thompson.
So
And he's
I'm not. It takes a lot for me to criticize the safety, because a lot of people were criticizing Quandre, and I'm like, just chill, guys. People are like trade Quandre, and I'm like, y'all forgot real quick, didn't you? You forgot how long it took us to replace the safeties the last time. Yeah,
I just the only complaint I have with Quandre last year was that overtime game against the Rams when he held that ball up in front of Bobby's face instead of cutting up the field 15 yards. He could have
I
had
love
it.
it. I
I
love it.
didn't in the situation. I did not. In the
I love it.
situation, I did not. That situationally, that was stupid. You
I
have
love it.
to.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
Not if we'd have lost. It was
They
not
they
worth
won anyway. It was worth it. It's definitely worth it. If they can give Bobby that interception that they called an interception that wasn't really an interception
it. It was
on Tony
close.
Jones. It
It
was
was close.
he was so far down he could have had a picnic down there. No, if they call that an interception, then it is worth Condre doing what he did to end the game. I take it all day. Take it all day.
I just didn't like it because it's an overtime, right? And we still got to go down and kick a field goal, right? That extra 15 yards could have made a huge difference. Thank God it didn't. But I mean
But
that
he
extra.
was fast. Who's to say he wouldn't go on as fast as he could have gone? He's not the fastest guy.
Well, because he's holding his hand out, and then he ran to the sideline. There was a couple times last year. I love Quandre Diggs, so I'm with you.
Yeah.
100%.
He
I love.
started slow for sure. He did start slow. And I think it was just him, getting his confidence back after injury or whatever. But the prospect of him, Jamal Adams, Devin Witherspoon, who those two guys, the amount of crap they're gonna talk to
Mhm.
those opponents between them and then DK on offense. And then Tariq, man, that secondary is just it's super
And
exciting. I
Julian
love
Love.
Julian Love. Yeah,
Yeah,
just about to say Julian Love and his versatility. Not super familiar with his game, but I just like that he's good at a variety of things, and so hopefully the Seahawks can disguise things better, which I think will play to them well. Sorry, we got way off topic there, but back to
no,
the
that's my fault. I keep doing it. I keep just. Oh yeah, let's turn left here. Take another left.
so the draft prospects. What were your thoughts on Mike Morris?
Okay, he was the other nose tackle, right?
He was well initially he was an edge. I think they're going to play him at 3 tech. Is
Okay.
fifth rounder
Okay.
out of Michigan.
Yeah, no, he was drafted. They draft like two Michigan guys back to
Yeah,
back.
him and
Olu
Olu.
is what I've been saying because I can't pronounce his last
I think
name.
it's Olusegun Oluwatime. Yes.
Okay, I won't be
Right.
able to for a while.
I've been pushing it for a minute.
um, yeah, so you think he's going to be a good, solid run stopper?
I don't know. I'm not sure how good he'll be in the run. Actually, I think he might be better in pass rush based off
Interior
his
pass
tape.
rush?
Yeah, based off his tape. I mean, he played off the edge, so I think they're moving him inside to get that athleticism and in maybe into in the interior to get some push, which they'll need because Jaron Reed ain't it. Not in pass rush. So I think they're bringing him in to be the athletic guy who can get him some pass rush on the interior along with Draymond Jones. And uh, it's a little bit of a project because he played some inside, but he really played mostly on the edge. So I'm a little worried about how that'll translate, but I like the upside of the guy for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then, God, who was that other guy I was pretty excited about that they?
See with Cam Young.
Yeah, Cam Young. They're
Cam Young,
having him play nose tackle.
yeah.
So I don't
I
know.
think he's smart.
I wish we could have got a little bit more help, but I'm in the interior defensive line. But I think I'm pretty satisfied with what they're doing now. And then they freed up like $8 million by restructuring Tyler Lockett. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that. Maybe they're just saving that.
They signed Mario Edwards.
Yeah, I saw that, but that
Yeah.
couldn't have been. That couldn't have been that.
It was that.
That's the reason.
Okay. Well, they needed the cap space anyway because there's a real debate if they even had enough to finish signing the rookies. So
Okay.
they needed to clear some cap space regardless, but they also wanted to do some things like that. They signed a couple of nose tackles, like they signed the guy from the XFL who started for Sea Dragons. So they just made a few moves like that, but I really think the main thing they wanted to do was get Mario Edwards in there because they'd done a tryout for him in maybe March, something like that, and they just didn't make a move at the time until after the draft. So, but I think it's good depth. I think that's a good move on them. I mean, they were never going to get a name brand. There's not any name brands left, and quite frankly, I agree with them. So, what many people I think take for granted is because this was such a big issue. I think people want the Seahawks to overreact almost to the issue when the reality is that runs guys who do nothing but stuff the run are a dime
Mhm.
a dozen. Seriously. Like they're a dime a dozen. Like you can find I mean, people forget Al Woods was a dude off the street. Like nobody was excited about the Al Woods signing when we signed Al Woods. So
Mhm.
I'm like, they're really good at finding dudes off the street who can like be depth. The problem is the star power, which they already took care of by signing Draymond Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm excited for that
Yeah.
guy.
So like since they actually did the star power move, yes, would you like another like semi-star? Yes, but I mean, there were other issues on this team, quite frankly, and for them to completely overhaul the defensive line, that's pretty good for one.
No, I thought it was awesome. They finally did what they need to do.
Yes,
They tore it down to the studs
yes.
and rebuilt it. I would like to see Frank Clark come back. I wouldn't mind that. You don't like him. I don't care what you say. I love Frank Clark. Go ahead. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay, one, he's really only good in the playoffs. There's that. Um, so we need actual like sacks, and like he doesn't do that. If you hadn't heard, he gives you like maybe 5. Okay, Quentin Jefferson gave us that last year. I'm good on that. And he's not even that good in the run stopping anymore. I
No,
mean,
no, he's always sucked. He's always sucked against the run. But
so
he's a guy, if you can get him for cheap, I'm telling you, if you can get Frank for cheap, you put him out there with Nwosu. I mean, if Taylor doesn't step up, you kind of do the same thing you did with Bruce Irvin last year. And
but
you have Frank Clark. Go ahead.
he doesn't play on the edge, does he? He doesn't play
Who?
like two stance,
Frank?
right? He doesn't do 2-point stance, does he?
He can play on the edge. He can do that.
Has he?
He was a 4-3. He's always been a 4-3, right? So he's always had his hand in the dirt, but playing on the edge.
But
He's
no, if he's playing with Nwosu, he would have to stand up 2-point stance and rush off the edge.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I promise you, he will be fine. He's an edge guy.
No, you don't just switch dudes and scheme and just be like it'll work out.
We did with
tried
Darrell
that.
Taylor.
Huh?
We did with Daryl Taylor.
That's a disaster. That is not a good idea. It's not a good example. That's all the more reason why you don't do that.
It did towards the end of the year, like the end of the Jets game last year. That was about it. But yeah, I think
He terrorizes weak offensive lines and calls it a career.
yeah, exactly. But Bruce Irvin was another one. He worked out just fine
You mean
last season.
last year?
Yeah.
Uh-uh. No.
I don't know why you're hating on Bruce Irvin.
I love Bruce Irvin, and he was great for like the first 2 weeks, but like they got him off the couch and it showed. At some point, Boye Mafe started playing better than he did in terms of actually applying pressure,
Yeah.
and that showed too. And Boye Mafe was not particularly great at pass rush, so that just goes to show it wasn't good. It was not good. If you go back and watch the film, it's not always pretty on Bruce, but love Bruce and love his heart for like being that for the team because we needed it, sadly.
Yeah, we did because
Yeah.
he was an upgrade over Daryl Taylor. I
Yeah.
mean, for sure. And I was super high on Daryl Taylor going into last season. I was really high. I was like, he'll probably have 10 sacks. And I didn't think anything of Nwosu going into the season. I think you were telling me Daryl Taylor did have like how many sacks did he have last year? 9.5.
9.5. Yep.
I can't even
Think of it.
doesn't it doesn't seem like it because he had that one big one against the Chargers last year. You remember that when he strip sacked Herbert and then
that was nice.
That play was awesome. Nice. But then other than that, I remember like at the end of halftime against the Jets game, he had a sack. I can't imagine in my mind Daryl Taylor having 9.5 sacks last season.
I remember him terrorizing Dwayne Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, I know. And it's like Dwayne Brown almost had to false start that whole game just because Daryl Taylor was off the line so fast. Yeah. I remember I was in the stadium and I didn't even realize that it was Dwayne Brown playing left tackle. I'm like, that guy keeps jumping. The whole time I was like, that left tackle is going early every snap. I think he had to.
Yeah, but he did have to because there was nothing that he could do. But yeah, now I hope that Daryl Taylor will be a little more consistent. And if he wasn't so bad in the run, I'd be much higher on him.
Well, but and that's the argument, and that's the problem we have with Frank Clark too. I mean, honestly, that's the same exact. What?
And Elijah Cansey.
He never played for us. He played for Pittsburgh in college. We'll see. The jury is still out on him. But yeah, it's just like it's hard with those guys because like when they're rushing the passer when they get home, it is freaking awesome. Obviously, like a guy like Frank Clark and Daryl Taylor. But boy, when it's a rundown, you do not want to see those guys on the field.
Like, and not just that. The pressure rate wasn't good. So, fun fact, Seahawks were 7th in sacks last season, but they were like 26th or 27th, something like that, in pressure rate.
And I'd rather have a better pressure rate, especially with that secondary we got next year.
Exactly.
Coming in this year.
Exactly. So they were really efficient. If they got the pressure, they got the sack. But it was boom or bust with the pressure, and I'm not here for that. I'm with you. Give me a ton of pressures and not many sacks. Give me a lot of hurries and affect the offense that way. That's my preference.
Yeah. No, I think everybody's with you.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty much. I think we've hit on pretty much all of the draft picks except for Olu. We left him hanging out a little bit, but I like him. I still think I'm not sure he'll start, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. I like Evan Brown. I'm pretty high on him. Me and too. I prefer the experience a little bit. But if he's good enough to overcome Evan Brown, then that's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, injuries aside, obviously, the offensive line that they go with week 1 is the offensive line I want to see week 18. Mm-hmm. Because they will mesh together. I mean, and we've seen it. I mean, unless some guy's just absolutely terrible, like Jermaine Ifedi or something like that, which they waited like 10 years too long to pull the plug on that guy. Seriously. But I just think, whoever you go with week 1, barring injury, obviously, that's who you should try to keep with consistently throughout the season.
Yeah, for sure. The whole rotation with Phil Haynes and Gabe Jackson situation was just weird.
And it messes with them too.
Yeah.
I'm sure it messed with them because it's like, okay, I'm not good enough. I'm good enough. Gabe Jackson's thinking, okay, I'm good enough to start the game, but come out every series when the rest of the four other guys are in there the whole game. So I don't.
Well, Gabe Jackson, I think he came out because of injury, but I
At first.
do think it screwed with Phil Haynes because it was his worst year by far. And
Mhm.
like you said, like you keep bringing me in like I'm a starter, but you want to actually start me. You keep starting this dude who you know can't hold up for like more than 5 minutes in a game. You start him, but you just keep. So yeah, that continuity is lacking. It was lacking, and I agree with you.
Yeah, and Blythe was not anything last year. Blythe, I don't know how your feelings are of him, but he was just
Literally the worst center in the league.
don't try to run the ball up the middle is what I kept thinking last year. I was like, oh my god, dude,
Don't,
that's like
don't try to pass. He couldn't pass protect either.
no, it couldn't. But the run plays were worse because you're like,
Yes.
how are they already back there? There's
Yes.
no way.
I mean, I went back and I rewatched the wild card game with the 49ers, and I guess this would be an easy segue to the schedules after this. But like I rewatched that game and I'm like, Gino had zero point 0.5 seconds before Blythe blew that block.
Mhm.
How many times did I see him or Gabe Jackson just within did you even give any resistance? Did you try? Like it was bad. I mean, and seriously, by most metrics, I think PFF had him as the second worst center in the league. Not that everybody doesn't love PFF, but
I
hey,
like I
film
like
back that
Pro
up.
Football Focus. I like it.
Yeah,
It really yeah.
film back that up. It's not always perfect. Nothing is, but like film back that up. He was seriously like the worst center in the league. So
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of people are like nervous about our center situation, and I'm like, it can't be worse.
Well, that's how I feel with our run defense.
Yeah,
I'm
can't
like,
be worse.
people are going, "Oh my god, what about?" I go,
Can't be
"Listen,
worse.
we were 30th. We were 30th in the league in run defense last year. What worse can we do? 31st or 32nd?"
Yeah.
But
Hey,
go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I think I'll bring it up when we get into our schedule and like I'll bring it up when we start talking about 49ers and stuff.
Okay, that's. I was gonna ask you. I don't have the schedule right in front of me,
I
but
just pulled it up.
obviously, game you have circled. Mine's Thanksgiving against the 49ers.
Minus Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think that's Seahawks and 49ers fans alike. I know I talked to a 49ers fan. He said obviously the rematch with the Eagles was one of theirs, but the Seahawks was just, neck and neck those two games.
All right. I won't cheat and say the first one of the season because like that is legitimately my answer. But okay, I'm like low key like glancing at the schedule below me, so I'm looking down.
I was
I'm
doing
gonna
that.
go with the Lions game in week 2. I think
Yeah.
that matchup will be really interesting. Um, and I've listened to a lot of schedule breakdowns. A lot of people had that as a loss. Actually, I do not. But a lot of people have that as a loss, and I think that'll be a win for a lot of reasons. But what say you? What's your outside of Thanksgiving in week 1?
Kind of excited to play the Bengals.
Oh, really? You
I know
excited to
I
lose?
might sound crazy for that, but I think it'll be a huge because the Bengals have been there already, right?
Yep.
They've been to the Super Bowl. I think they made the AFC Championship game
Yep.
last year. That will be a great. It'll be week 6. We'll be coming off a bye. I think that'll be a really good measuring stick of where we are as a team against
Yeah.
a top flight team in the NFL. I
It's
think
not
that'll be the first real out of the first 4 games. I can't remember. I know it's the correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the Rams, Lions. I can't remember, and
Panthers.
then the Giants, Rams,
Panthers.
Giants, or
Panthers. Giants. Yep.
yeah, okay.
3 out of
So
4.
I think we can easily go 3-1. I mean, I think we can go 4-0, but I think just it's the NFL. I think we could go 3-1 easy, and then we have the bye week 5, and then week 6. I think is going to be our first huge test against a huge opponent, and
Yeah.
on the road too. It's not at home. It's at 10 a.m., which a lot of people complain about, but we are really good at 10 a.m. or 1
Yeah.
o'clock your time, I guess. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
we're really good at those early morning games on the East Coast.
Yeah. People really make a bigger deal out of that than I think, because Pete's mastered that, and I was a little worried about it last season. I was like, well, that was with a more established group. It was with Russ. It was with Bobby. Will that translate? And yes, it did. Like they were still good at 10 a.m. games. I think the Lions game last year,
Yep.
if I'm crazy, and I'm pretty sure it was a 10 a.m. game.
No, it was 10 a.m. and then the Saints one it was at 10 a.m. That game bugged me more than any game last year. The Saints
Wow.
game was at 10 a.m. just because Taysom Hill beat you. I
Oh
think I
yeah,
don't know if I brought that up to you,
yeah,
but sorry, not getting off topic.
yes, yeah. Do
Taysom
remember
Hill.
that. I actually remember it for all of the highlights for Gino because it was like my first like Gino. So I expected Gino to be good coming into the season. The Saints game was wow, Gino's way better than I thought he'd be, and I had high expectations. So or like high, not high, but like I had good expectations out of him. So I remember it more as that game, but I did forget about the whole like fumbling that game down the stretch. Anyway, okay, back to the schedule.
Okay, so we got the Bengals. Who do we have after that? Let me pull it up because
Yeah. So
that's
wait, we said 3-1. Who you got us losing to between the Rams, Lions, Panthers, Giants? Who's most likely
I
wrong?
don't think it matters. I think we're gonna win the first game, and then
Who's
I
most
like I
likely
said,
for us to lose?
out of those,
Most likely.
I'm gonna say the Panthers because it doesn't make any sense. Because I think they're gonna lose one of those games, and I'm being completely honest because it doesn't make any sense, and I think they're gonna lose one, and it's not gonna make any sense. We're gonna be like, why did they lose that game? Just like
You
they
know,
did last year.
you know what's possible? I have the game I have marked for that. I still put it as a win because it's supposed to be a win. I have it as the Steelers at the end of the year.
You have us losing to the Steelers.
I don't have us losing, but the game that I can see being like you were at home and you should have won that game, but for whatever weird reason you didn't. The game that pisses everybody off about the season, I could see that being the Steelers game. I think it's more likely at the end of the year than the beginning. Could be wrong, but that's the Seahawks way, right? Like I feel like right when you feel like you got momentum going, like they do something that just pisses you off.
I can't believe they have the spread. Are you looking at ESPN? They have the
Yeah.
spreads on all these games already.
Oh, yeah, they do them early. They do them early. Yeah.
Um,
So after that, let's see. After the bye week, which I hate the early bye week, by the way.
I don't like it either. But the late bye week did not help us either last year because it seemed like once we went to Germany, that's when the team fell apart.
That's fair, but that stretch is so brutal. Like the back to back Thursday night games, and then like that's just such a brutal stretch that I just feel like you need some kind of break in between there, even if it is a little bit of. I mean, last year it did kill the momentum, but I blame that on them taking Germany too much like a vacation. That's on coaching.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. And
I was like, they're having an awful lot of. They having the time of their lives. Like all the footage leading up to the game, and then they come out like that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, they were having the time of their lives.
so you don't get this because you live on the East Coast. Now imagine waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's actually I got up at 4:45 in the morning. Get ready for the game, and then just to watch them suck at 6 o'clock in the morning is something else.
I think I was up at like, wasn't I up early for that?
Well, it started at
Like
9 a.m.
7?
your time.
It started at 9.
Yeah, so it started at 6 my time.
Are you sure?
Positive, because I was so pissed off that it started at 6 o'clock in the morning. I
Because
yeah.
I remember watching that for a good portion, and I would think by 9 I would have been like on my way out of the house. Okay. Anyway,
No. Yeah.
yeah, well,
But
yeah. What game did I watch at 6? I watched some game. Oh, it's probably watched to watch the Broncos lose in London. I think that's what it was. And it was some game I woke up super early for the London game. And I think
and you're lucky because you live on the East Coast, right? So those 6 a.m. games there, for us, they're 9 a.m. for you guys.
well, it's semi East Coast, so I'm more Central time. So I
Oh,
really
you are?
I live in the South. Yeah,
So what time is it now? It's 7:10 here. It'll
it's
be
9:10.
Oh, so those games start at 8 o'clock for you instead,
Hmm.
but still 6 sucks.
So yeah, I was
6,
like, it couldn't have been 9 because like I'm like by 9, I'm normally out of door. I got up earlier than normal, but yeah, so it was 8.
yeah, no, that's my bad. I'm just not geographically. I've never been
It's
anywhere
fine.
other than here, basically.
No, it's
Um,
good.
so we
So
got
okay,
the Bengals. What do you see? You see a surprise Seahawks win there? I
now
could
I wish.
I could see that's one of those games. Like I could see like us losing to the Panthers or the Giants or something weird like that, and then I could let's just say I'm not predicting that we're gonna beat the Bengals, but it wouldn't.
Surprise
It's
you?
football. It wouldn't surprise me if we beat the Bengals.
Color me surprised. I'm just hoping it's not like the Bills game. That's my fear. My fear is it's like the Bills game. I don't
Oh,
even know fan anymore.
2
Yeah,
years ago?
yeah, that's my fear.
Yeah,
That
that
we
game
know
sucked.
we get mollywopped.
Or the Chiefs game last year. The Chiefs game sucked.
Well, okay, yeah, but those were really extreme weather conditions. I kind of take that one with a grain of salt.
The Chiefs game was?
Yeah, they were like it was like historically cold. I
Oh,
mean,
I
last
can't
year,
even remember.
yeah,
I
like last
can't.
year it was like it's like -15 or something.
Oh, I had no idea. I
And
couldn't
they
even
stayed in
remember.
that game. I want to say they stayed in the game for the first half or something like that, and then
Yeah, I
they
think they kinda hung around there.
yeah, because it was a really ugly cold game. So I was just proud of them for just staying in it.
But
I was
yeah,
like,
you
all
are
right,
you are correct. The Bills game
Bills.
2 years ago, or it might even been no, 3 years ago now. I don't know. It was
Actually
terrible.
might be. It was Jamal Adams' first year.
Yeah, so 2020.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess 3 years ago. But yeah, that game sticks in my head like because it was a real turning point. Because everybody's feeling great about the team. Because I think that's when they started off super hot. Like Russ was on MVP level play,
Mhm.
and then they
Yeah, it
went to
was
the Bills and got mollywopped, and it was a complete like punch in the gut. I just don't want that to be the Bengals this year. So like as long as that doesn't happen, I'm fine.
well, and then looking back on that season, we finished 12-4, and by the end of that season, you're watching them, you're like, "How is this team a 12? This is not a 12-4 team."
Like
You know?
I felt like a fraud, like an active fraud going into the playoffs.
No, and then to lose to Jared Goff with one thumb, but anyways,
Not
we
just
got
Jared
the
Goff. Before then, it was Colt McCoy and in his giant flunkies, right?
yeah, the
The
Giants.
Giants game that
That was
could have had the number one seed. And
yeah.
oh, okay, let's not relive the past. That
Um,
all
so
right.
after at the Bengals, we play the Cardinals here. I got that as a win for us.
Yep,
Got the Browns here. Got that as a win for us
I do
because
not have it as a loss.
I don't want to see that number 4 come in here and win a football game. I do not want to see it.
I fear that I fear that game. Because I went back and I look at the roster and I wasn't afraid of it. Okay, I'm not afraid of it, but like the Zadarius Smith trade makes a huge difference for that offense. I just don't know if the tackles can give Gino enough time. That's a lot of pressure. I mean, and they already have a really good secondary, and our wide receiver core is better for sure.
Mhm.
But like theirs is comparable with Amari Cooper and whatever. So I don't know. I don't think that's a tough one to win. I think they might lose that one.
We'll disagree on that one.
All right.
We'll disagree on that one. So far, I got 2 losses. You have 1 loss?
Yeah, because
Or no,
wait, wait.
you'll
Yeah, I
have
just
2
got the Bengals
losses.
loss. Yeah, 'cause that's the only loss I got right now. Well, I got the Browns loss. I just added that.
Okay, so we're both at 2 losses, just
Yep,
different.
different game.
The Ravens, I don't see us winning this game.
We are opposites, man. We've
Really?
got to win that game. Do you? So I personally feel like the Browns roster wipes the floor with the Ravens roster, and it's not even close. Seriously, I'm not scared of a single wide receiver on that roster. I'm not. I mean,
No, I'm not afraid of their receivers at all.
they
I'll
got
tell you
Mark
what I am af
Andrews
I'll tell you
and
what I am afraid of is them running that ball on us, and I'm really afraid. I get it, the Browns have Nick Chubb, and I don't know, do they still have Kareem Hunt?
they have J.K. Dobbins as their running back.
I know, and I like Dobbins, but I'm really afraid of Lamar Jackson. Just because we played him during his MVP season. I remember
I
watching
know.
that game thinking, "Oh my god,
It's a
how do
really
you
different
stop this
defense.
guy?"
It's just QB contain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple. QB contain and let your secondary work. I mean, that's not a game I expect to get any pass rush. In fact, I don't care if they get a single sack.
Mm-mm.
QB contain
Yes, do not
and
let him.
and make him beat you with his arm. Simple. It's not hard. They don't have a ton of other. I mean, Mark Andrews is a legitimate weapon. But I
And
just feel like
Likely's
that's
all right.
secondary. Hmm.
Likely their other tight end, he's all right. He's not
Yeah.
great, but he's
Yeah.
decent.
I really feel like the Browns have way more threats on both offense and defense than the Ravens. Period. So I go with the better roster for the loss. And even though it is Deshaun Watson, I think they're far more likely to lose to a better team than the Ravens team. You got one guy you don't let beat you.
Yeah.
One. And boom. Another thing too, I'm more optimistic about the run defense.
Yeah.
So, oh, this is I was gonna break. I was gonna wait for the 49ers, but like I feel like if they do more stacked fronts, well, they kind of did like this in 2020 and 2021. More
Mhm.
stacked fronts. I think they were going to use Jamal in that way too, where you don't know who's coming, you don't know who's blitzing, you don't know who's dropping. Using that will increase their run defense just by default because they ran a lot of light boxes last year and it encouraged teams to check out pass plays into runs. Well, you have less of that on top of, I think, Bobby being back helps the run a lot more than people think.
Yeah,
Bobby
no,
can stop the run,
I
period. Same thing with Jamal if he's healthy by then. Same
we'll
thing with
see.
Jamal.
We're in November already. I don't
Yeah.
know. Jamal's still gonna be there.
And then like we got corners who also like do really well in the run. So I just don't think you need a ton of 300-pound guys in order to stop the run. And I think that's the way the modern NFL is being set up. And if you just QB contain,
And I think that was crazy too. If you look at Tariq Woolen against the run the first couple weeks, he sucked. I mean, he was like the worst tackler I've ever seen.
he was.
It was so impressive. By the end of the season,
Yes, he was.
he was making tackles like Sherman out there.
Yeah.
Being a cornerback, make it, and you're like, holy cow, man, this guy, he's really just how good of a story he was. That's what I fell in love with the guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the first bird jersey I bought like since the rest like era is the Woolen jersey, and I'll see if anybody else is worth my jersey buying, but definitely replace Wilson with Woolen.
Okay, so we differ on the Ravens game. I think we beat the commies
Oh
at
sure.
home. I think we beat the Rams in LA.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is the one that everybody's been waiting for. I got us taking it. I really do.
I do too.
I think that energy is gonna be electric on Thanksgiving. I don't think you obviously weren't there last year when they came to town. There was more freaking 49ers fans in that stadium.
Yeah, I saw it on TV. It looked bad on TV.
Yeah, and I think being on Thanksgiving, I think they might travel a little less this year. I really do. It being on Thanksgiving, I just think the Bengals will obviously be a measuring stick game. I think this is our second huge measuring stick game because this will be the one. We'll just say the midseason one where you're like, okay, let's see what you got. This is circle that. I think we win this game. It'll be very close. You?
It will. It will. Yeah, agreed. Now it goes to my man. How you win this game is you go back to those stack fronts. You take advantage of the fact that so I think two things will play into the Seahawks' advantage. So that if they use that concept, the versatility of the backfield, using Julian Love in multiple places, using Jamal Adams in multiple places to confuse. I'm gonna assume Brock Purdy is back by this time. So.
Oh, don't even start them on that in the chat. Don't even start them on that.
I'm going to assume Brock Purdy is back. So if he's back, I think a younger quarterback. I know he played and he did well last year, but I also think this because he played the second half of the year, he didn't really get to see what happens over a full year when most NFL teams adjust. It's a halfway point for every quarterback or player where teams adjust to you and then you have to counter. So we haven't even seen what the NFL has in terms of countering him yet because he came on, splashed on, did well, and no teams adjusted quick enough before he got hurt. So there's that. I think teams will give us a blueprint, low key. Honestly, I think
And that roster, not to take away from him or anything, but that roster is just
yeah,
they're one of the best rosters, if not the best roster in the
yeah,
NFL. And I tell that I obviously go on with a lot of 49ers people because there's not a lot of Seahawks content creators, and they've accepted me for being a Seahawks fan. But I won't bullshit them. I will tell them, I think hands down, minus the quarterback position, obviously.
yeah.
I like the way they built their roster. I really do. I just
It's Eagles, and then 49ers, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But I think those things play in the favor. And here's a huge thing that I think will be a big deciding factor in the ability for the Seahawks to win this game. Austin Blythe is not on the team anymore. I'm
Yep.
just it sounds like a joke, but I am so serious. When I went back and I watched that wild card game, half of their pressures came from Gabe Jackson or Austin Blythe. Not saying Cross didn't have some slip ups or Lucas didn't. They did, but it was manageable. The reason they terrorized was because of the interior. And you can't get worse than that. Anything is a step up. So, for those reasons, Seahawks win, in my opinion. And they're home.
And Jonathan Abram won't be twisting any ankles right before halftime, really pissing people off. That was one thing where I was like, I don't know if I told you this, but I never usually I try to back my own players up, right? Like I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I understand.
You can't defend that.
You watched the game yesterday, or you said you rewatched it.
Yeah, I rewatched the tape.
You
Yeah.
saw when Abrams twisted his ankle, and the announcers are going, "Oh boy, Tariq Woolen really grabbed it," and I'm like, "Why are you doing this? That's not
Yeah, because that was
Woolen."
not Tariq Woolen. No, it wasn't.
Okay, so I got them winning. I got them beating Dallas in
Yes.
Dallas. Okay,
Yep. I
I
think that
have
our
us.
roster is better.
I have us losing to San Francisco in San Francisco or
Correct.
Santa Clara.
Correct.
Um, I have us losing to the Eagles at
Yep.
home,
Scheduled loss, in my opinion.
but I'd like to see. I get the Eagles are awesome.
They're awesome.
Teams don't really rebound well after losing the Super Bowl. So we'll see. We'll see. That's one that, nobody ever expects it, but there are a lot of teams that you don't expect it to. And they just never rebound the same as they were before.
I would agree with you, but most teams who go to the Super Bowl don't have a top 10 pick.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
That's totally my argument. Because I said the same thing last year with the Rams, and people didn't want to hear me. But I agree with you. Well, and they won, but I was just like Super Bowl hangover, whether you won or you lost. Like I think it's real.
Mhm.
And yeah, the Eagles just had too good of a draft, honestly.
We'll see. As long as Georgia players do transfer well into the NFL, I think they'll do awesome.
If they don't, then they're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. If everybody from Georgia doesn't produce, they're absolutely screwed. The Titans, are you going to try to go this game?
So I was really pissed about the schedule. It's Christmas Eve, dude. Like,
So just go. I'm going on
no.
Thanksgiving. You better go on Christmas Eve.
I always come every year that they play the Titans. I always go. It's Christmas Eve. There's no way I can pull that off. I don't really see a feasible way because like my family does things on Christmas Eve, like leading up to the night before, and that's
Mhm.
really tough. I think I'm gonna try, but it's like a 3 hour drive and getting there and back. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off.
I got us taking that game.
It'll be a win regardless, but then it's gonna
Unless
be cold, and it's always in October. What happened to the Seahawks playing the Titans in October when I like to go?
yeah, no, unless they completely just quit trying to stop Derrick Henry like they did 2 years ago against the Titans. I mean, he single-handedly beat us 2 years ago.
He did single-handedly. I think a few years have changed things a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, they have. They have definitely. But
Yeah, a few years. It's taking its toll, and let's just hope he's still playing at this point because I don't know.
I love Derrick Henry.
I
He's
don't know.
not a Seahawk. I don't really love opposing team players. I love Derrick Henry and just the way he plays. I think he's awesome.
My guess, Will Levis is playing in this game.
You think? Didn't he get? Oh, he did. For some reason I thought the Saints took him. Yeah, he did. No, yeah. Well, Malik Willis definitely ain't playing in this game unless both the other quarterbacks because Malik Willis was. It was literally like watching Tim Tebow last year, a right-handed Tim Tebow, and I was like, remember watching him? They had him on in some prime
Yeah,
game. It was his first game,
it
and it
was
was the
really
first.
bad.
Yeah,
And
so
he didn't look like he knew how to even really throw the ball. It was bad.
they didn't even attempt to. Like
Yeah,
it looked like when the 49ers brought in Purdy again after his UCL was torn. It was like that bad.
it was terrible. So I think Will Levis, because I think Tannehill's probably gonna be benched by this point of the season. They're probably getting Will Levis. I'm sure he's probably had a few games under his belt at this point because the Titans, I don't know what they're doing as a team in general. So that's a win for sure.
I got us beating the Steelers. This is one of the games I'm most excited to go to this year. You said you got us losing to the
I
Steelers,
don't,
or
I
you
don't
said
have us losing. I have us winning. Like my official prediction, I have us winning. But if there's a game they're going to screw up, it's the Steelers, because the Steelers defense just seems the way they blitz heavy. It didn't go great with Geno.
yeah.
That was on their territory. So I think the home game is why I have is as a win. But because of just how weird they play this team, it wouldn't surprise me. They
It's
screwed
always
it up.
been odd playing the Steelers because we play them once every 4 years, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's always kind of weird. I mean, I think Russell Wilson threw for like 5 touchdown passes in 2015 when we played him.
Hey, wait. It's not every 4 years, right?
It's every 4 years.
Because Gino played when Russ went out.
Oh, so I guess
When
it's
Russ
every
went
three
out,
years.
Gino played because they were winning that. They had a chance. We're in the game, and
Yeah,
then
and then he
everybody
fumbled.
says that Gino fumbled, like
Yeah.
screwed up the game or whatever. And because Trey Brown came in that game, that was his first game, I think. And he made this amazing tackle off the like out of zone, and like that's when everybody wanted us to bench Trey Flowers. Was that 4 years ago? It couldn't have been, because Gino was.
Why did we play them?
But it was definitely the Steelers. I know
Oh,
that.
that was the first year they added the 17th game. That was
Oh,
our
is that
weird
why?
opponent. So we play the AFC North every 4 years. We play
Okay,
every division every 4 years.
right.
Well,
But
yeah, I
because it was
remember
the
that's
17th game, okay,
yeah, they added I forget why that was the
a
Steelers.
random. I think it was like almost like a random team or something. Yeah, that's what it was.
But yeah, we always play it's always kind of funky when we play them. Ever since the Super Bowl, it's been funky every time we
Yes.
play. I've only
Weird
seen them
vibe.
in person one time, and this will be my second time seeing them in person. So
Okay,
their fans travel really well, I'll tell you that.
I
And
don't got
then
that.
we close out the stadium. We close out the season in our second home stadium in Arizona, and I think we win that game.
Yeah, unless they sit people.
I don't think we'll be in the chances. I don't think so. With how good the 49ers are, I don't think there's any chance we're sitting anybody.
I hope you're wrong. That stadium terrifies me in week 18.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it's week 18. I'm sorry, yeah, week 18, and it's in that stadium. And that the last time that happened, Chris Carson went down. Russ
Quandre.
got hurt. Quandre got hurt.
That was the last time we played them the final week. Quandre Diggs. Remember he like went in for a tackle. I still don't know what happened, but he like broke his leg or it was a
Yeah.
really bad one.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is right.
So
So that was a more. I was thinking of the time before that, because the time before that it was the final, or maybe it wasn't the final week. Maybe it was like week 16 or something like that, where that's when Chris Carter, because he had a great season and it was really close to the playoffs, and then he got hurt. It was at their stadium. Somebody else got hurt that game too. That was pretty significant. Oh, probably another running back, because
probably.
this year we ended up bringing in Marshawn off the street.
I'll tell you what though, that stadium it freaks me out
It's
because
cursed.
ever since we threw that interception in the Super Bowl. So that's what started all with me.
Yep.
And then okay, so we'll do it that way. Cam played his last game there. That's where he hurt his neck.
Sharm.
Yeah, Sherman, that's where he tore his Achilles.
Yep.
Earl Thomas, that's where he broke his leg and played his last game. Russell Wilson, that was his last game as a Seahawk, was
Yes,
at
it
that
was.
stadium.
Yes, it was.
And it's always something weird there. Somebody always gets hurt.
Yeah. So I'm like, I really hope you're wrong. And like Pete decides he's scared to compete.
No,
I know it's too much to ask, but seriously, that I hate that we can't. I want them. I'd do anything to switch those games. Like have the home game be the final, and take the extra road game earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give a lot for that to happen because if they had injuries, they'd have time to get back before the playoffs.
Yeah, so what's weird about that stadium is it seems like we always win there, right? It seems like we never lose,
Yeah.
but there's always a huge consequence. There's always a
Did they
giant.
lose? Did they lose that game that DK had the Buda Baker play? Was
Yeah,
that a win?
no,
Or
we
did they lose?
lost
They
in
did lose that one. Okay.
overtime,
That's
and
probably the
then
only one then.
we tied there one time. I don't know if you remember that. It was six
The
to
ugly
six.
game.
It was 6-6.
Ugly.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Ugliest game I've ever seen in my life.
But yeah, is there anything else? So I guess I have them losing like 4 games.
Yeah, my official prediction was 13-4.
Yeah, and I was talking to him. I think this 11 or 12 win team because I think there are going to be some games that are hiccups that we shouldn't have lost, and I think more closer towards like week 6, week 7, we'll kind of figure out what this team truly is, right? But
Right.
I'd be absolutely shocked if we only won 9 games, and I'd be absolutely shocked if we won like 14 games or even I'd say between 9 and 14 is where like those are my boundaries. Like, no, we're not going there. We're not going there.
There's no, it shocked the heck out of me if they won 14 games because that means they would beat one of the Bengals, the Eagles, or like maybe they'd have to beat the 49ers twice. One of those, they'd have to either win one of those other games or beat the 49ers twice for that to happen. And I just don't see it's a no-go. It's not happening.
No, and I'd rather have a great regular season or rather have a really good regular season and take her to the Super Bowl. I want to finish on a high note. That's the opposite of last year. Last year, it kind of went downhill, and then we won the last 2 games. But I wish they would have finished how they started last year.
Yeah. The good news is the schedule allows for that a little bit with 3. I mean, really, you should win those. You should win those final 3 games of the season, so you get a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs, provided you don't get any catastrophic injuries in Arizona.
What we said about the Raiders and Panthers last year, I'm just saying, because those 2 games were inexcusable.
Yeah, but okay, on the schedule, that looked like a tough game when the season started. It was Devontae Adams, it was Derek Carr, so like it didn't end up looking like a game you should win until like closer to the game actually happening.
Yeah,
but the Panthers won.
Yeah, no, those 2 games were inexcusable.
Yeah.
But anything else you got? What do you got going on this week, I guess? Or this week?
No, I just put out the schedule breakdown. I'm gonna try to do a series for better or for worse on defense and then offense. So I'll do defense next week. I'll start there. Basically just go through each of the the position groups. Why I have blanked on that. But go through each of the position groups and say if I think it got better or if it got worse. So yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a lot better. Well,
we'll see.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Sorry I couldn't get to everybody. We got off topic like way too much, but that's me to blame. I just keep turning left. So
yeah.
You guys have a good night. All right. Thank you everybody for coming in.
Thanks.